Good evening and salutations, my Days of Our Lives fans. This episode boggled me a bit. I'm not too sure if that's a word, but I'm gonna use it anyway. This episode boggled me for just a couple of different reasons. Let's start off with this whole, the plan for Chad to seduce Leo. So after, you know, um, Will kind of told, Sonny Will told Sonny's story about how Leo pretty much kind of screwed him over and humiliated him and everything else, and to sit there and mock him and pretty much kind of brag, knowing that he's going to do it to somebody else. Chad agrees. Now, this is after Chad is like, I'm sorry, what? Um, this plan is so stupid. It's so dumb. So let me get this straight. You got Will and Sonny since they're talking about, oh, we can't sit there and hire someone like an escort or anything like that because Leo will see it coming a mile away. But you think that Chad, who has rejected him plenty of times and has always been known to be straight, you think that that's going to work? He's just going to be like, oh, you know what? Yeah, Leo, I'm into you. I definitely want to be with you. You had more of a chance of hiring a call guy or something like that, as opposed to out of the blue. Oh, you know what? Yeah, Chad's really digging Leo now. Yeah, just out of nowhere. I don't understand how this plan is supposed to work, and they rope Abby into it, and Abby's like, you know what? Yeah, for Will and everything like that, and yeah, I'll do it. I mean, you did save me on that island, so I kind of do owe you one. And she agrees to his plan. Uh, So they stage this fake fight. Um, Leo just happens to walk by, and this is when Abby's like, "Oh, you always need to talk about Leo this and Leo that," and then when they get to him, it's like, "Oh, it's the famous Leo," and I'm like, now I get that. No matter how smart someone is, particularly Leo, as far as scamming and stuff like that, vanity will definitely be your blind spot. But come, seriously? So, Chad pretends, he looks at him like he's into him, and, they get this glance, and then, he walks into his hotel, and, now that he's going, there's not this smile, you got Abby and Chad just smile like, yeah, we're doing it, and I'm like, I don't understand on what level this is actually supposed to work, but, okay, this is pretty stupid, and I guess it's supposed to be comical. But yeah, this is pretty stupid. So let's talk about this whole let's talk about this possession part of the story. You got Johnny Diablo downstairs calling Sean to come up there so this way, he can perform his tricks and powers and everything like that. And Sean gets there. Now, granted, John's like, Marlene, you gotta leave. You gotta go. And Marlene's like, well, you can get possessed too. What's gonna stop you? God will. So shouldn't God stop her from being possessed? I mean, listen, I get your argument, but I'm gonna be honest, it's starting to make less and less sense the more you're talking about it. Anyway, Marlene's not leaving, and Sean is not leaving either. So Johnny's like, why don't you use that amulet to protect all three? And this way, the devil can't sit there and get inside y'all as long as y'all are holding hands. So they do this whole Care Bears thing, and Johnny's outside, and he's performing his magic. Now, of course, I did forget to talk about Johnny being close enough to hop in Bella's body and do the whole eyes things or whatever, just to make sure, just to confirm to showing that she's possessed. Um, but that was just like, all right, you guys are really going on a leap on this one. Okay, okay, all right, sure. Um, so anyway, John performs the exorcism, and at first, it's like nothing's happening. But of course, John Diablo's outside, and he's pressing, he's holding, pressing his hand on the door to make all his magic and everything like that work. And the bed starts shaking and stuff, and they do it for a while. It stops. Bella wakes up. Now, of course, Bella was out of it, and she kept trying to say, Johnny's the one that's possessed, but of course, she couldn't really speak too well. And by the time she tried to utter anything, that's when they got there. Towards the end, she wakes up and she's seems like she has no memory of what happened, or no memory of Johnny being possessed. So she wakes up and she's like, "Oh, Sean and everything like that," and they hug, you start kissing and stuff, and um, Marlena's like, "Well, the devil's gone for real this time, forever." I mean, I could have swore the devil was gone like 25 something years ago. Then it possessed Doug, and then it possessed Jim. But this time, this is after the first, this is after the second exorcism, and now is possessed Bella, but now it's gone forever. I can't even believe she said that. I was like, are you kidding me? Sure, whatever. Um, Now of course, no. Well, moving on to the next. So Leo is trying to convince Craig to take Kayla's job, and of course Craig is. Here's the thing: Craig is not upset with Nancy as far as her opening her big fat mouth and just blabbing to his workplace of everything that happened. He's like, oh well, she's in a lot of pain, this, that, and the third. And I'm like, yeah, I get that part, but my issue is that you don't know if he was ready to come out to the people at his job. You just blurt out that type of information? Are you kidding? Listen, he may sit there and forgive that, but that personally pissed me off. Um, I mean, granted, she's been annoying for quite a while, and I've been trying to give her a pass because of all the pain and hurt and everything like that, but that was a choice that she made, and it was a pretty messed up choice. Um, anyway, while that's going on, um, say, Leo's like, listen, there's a good chance you may get fired at your job. And then he starts trying to convince him, like, hey, listen, they need you here. I mean, Kayla is pretty much just messing up all around, just all across the board. And Leo brings up a whole bunch of different examples as far as Jan Spears and even Marlena being possessed. The time that Eli and Lonnie's baby went missing. Just a whole bunch of mishaps that happened. To convince Craig that, listen, I'll be sitting there doing them a favor, you know? And how even Leo says, like, listen, you won't be taking her job, she will be fired. She'll be fired for not doing her job. And granted, towards the end, he did sit there and say he was going to do it. He was like, listen, I won't have to really do anything. I'll just kind of just step into the position because she's going to be fired anyway. So, it's no harm, no foul. Now, of course, Kayla is not there talking to her boss, who is pressuring her to fire Marlena. And she's like, listen, she's better, she's sound, she's competent. I'm not doing it. And I'm sitting there looking at this whole situation. I'm like, well, if y'all weren't friends, Would you still feel that way? And let's just sit there and say, they weren't friends, and she would still be like, whatever. At the end of the day, you got to sit there and make tough decisions every day. You have to make decisions that you don't like and you may not agree with, but it's part of the job. And for management to be sitting there telling you, hey, listen, this is what we want you to do, and for you to be like, well, I'm not doing it. I ain't doing it. And that ends that. You know what? I'm working right now. I'll talk to y'all later. It kind of sounded like she didn't want to be told. She didn't want to be she didn't want to be want to do something that she was told to do. And granted, Kayla was like, listen, I don't respond well to threats. She tells Abby later on after calming down Abby's conscience about the whole needle thing and Sarah being, kind of a different person. After that, she's like, hey, um, they pretty much threatened me as far as Marlena is concerned, as far as me firing her, as far as my job being on the line if I don't do it. And at this point, she's kind of just like, listen, hey, listen, if you want to fire me and hire somebody else, go right ahead. Now, of course, she says that now. I don't know how she'll sit there and feel later on when she gets the boot. But I guess time will tell. Now, later on, or towards the end of the episode, Craig does come to the hospital, talk to Kayla, and Kayla's like, what are you doing here?" And more or less, Craig's like, hey, listen, do you have any openings or anything like that? And of course, Kayla like, oh, well, not somebody of your high qualifications. Um, so he's kind of just like stare at each other. And at this point, Kayla already knows. Kayla already knows. She knows that Leo's there. She knows how Leo is. And she already said to Steve, there's a good chance that he may sit there and try to come for my job. You may not think so now, but he is seeing Leo, and Leo could, kind of whisper in his ears a bunch of bad thoughts to do because, you know, reasons. And it's just who he's been so far. Um, so she already knows the score the minute that he walked in. Like, yeah, I know what you're doing here. I think that's about it for the most part. Yeah, I mean, Sonny and Will kind of make out or whatever, and they're like, let's go upstairs, because, the last time Sonny walked in on some stuff that he probably shouldn't have, saw. If Bonnie, I think that's her name. Yeah, Bonnie. Yeah, if Bonnie didn't decide, hey, everyone's away, let's just sit there and do it right here in the living room, when anyone can just walk right on in. Um, yeah, I think that's about it. Like I said, here's the thing. I think this episode was interesting. There was just things within this episode that just like kind of just boggled me. The possession thing and Roland Smith there thinking it's just over when the devil has came back. Like we'll sit there and say for the third time now, but somehow she thinks this is the last time. This one's gonna take. And the fact that Leo is just gonna fall for Chad, who has been known to be straight and has practically rejected Leo at every single turn. Now, now he's into him. Yep, that makes sense. I think that's gonna do it. So, with that being said, I'm gonna go. I want to thank you for watching. Be safe. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video.